Most people think debt is just a math problem. It's not. It's a behavior problem, wrapped inside a system that makes it easy to stay stuck. Because debt doesn't just take your money, it takes your flexibility, it takes your time, and in a lot of cases, it quietly takes control of your financial future. Here's what most people don't realize. We're not just dealing with personal debt, we're dealing with a national pattern. In fact, Americans now carry over $18 trillion in total debt, and credit card debt alone has crossed $1.2 trillion and still rising. So if you've ever felt stuck, like you're paying but not progressing, you're not the problem. You're in a system that's designed to keep you in motion, but not necessarily moving forward. If you're trying to build real financial freedom, not just survive month to month, this channel is for you. I break down money in a way that actually makes sense in real life. So if that's what you're looking for, hit subscribe. And be honest, have you ever felt like you're paying debt but getting nowhere? Drop trapped in the comments, because that feeling, it's more common than you think. The debt trap isn't just about owing money. It's about being stuck in a loop where your payments don't actually move you forward. You're making payments, you're doing what you're supposed to do, but the balance barely changes. And a big reason for that? Interest. Right now, the average credit card interest rate is over 22%. That means if you carry a balance, you're not just paying for what you bought, you're paying extra, sometimes a lot extra. Let's look at an example. Let's say you've got about $6,700 in credit card debt. That's actually close to the national average. If you only make minimum payments, you could end up paying double that amount over time. And that's the trap. Not that you're not paying, but that the system slows your progress down. Here's a simple way to look at it. If your balance isn't dropping, even though you're paying every month, you're not really in control of the debt. The debt is controlling the pace. Think about it like being on a treadmill. You're moving, you're putting in effort, but you're not actually getting anywhere. And a lot of people stay here for years, not because they're irresponsible, but because the system is designed to stretch out repayment. So if you've ever felt like, I've been paying this forever, that feeling is real, because in many cases, you have been. Here's how most people fall into debt. Not through bad decisions, through normal life. Car breaks down, unexpected bill shows up, something happens, and you don't have cash ready. So you use credit. And that's important to understand. For many people, credit isn't about luxury, it's about survival. Research shows that nearly half of Americans carry credit card balances month to month. And a big reason? Everyday expenses, groceries, gas, bills. So what starts as a one-time solution turns into a pattern. And that's where the shift happens. Debt goes from being a backup plan to being part of your normal routine. And this is where people start to feel stuck, because it doesn't feel like a big moment. There's no single point where you say, okay, now I'm in debt. It just slowly becomes part of your life. You swipe your card without thinking. You expect the balance to be there. You plan around payments instead of totals. And eventually, debt stops feeling like something temporary and starts feeling like something permanent. That's when it really becomes a trap. Not when you first use it, but when you stop questioning it. Debt changes how you think, and most people don't even notice it happening. You stop thinking, how much does this cost? And start thinking, what's the monthly payment? That shift is huge because it disconnects you from reality. Let's look at an example. $1,000 doesn't feel like $1,000 anymore. It feels like $40 a month. That's how debt becomes easier to accept. But there's another layer most people don't talk about: emotions. People don't just spend money, they spend to feel better. After a stressful day, a purchase can feel like relief. But here's the problem: that relief doesn't last. The bill does. And over time, this creates a loop: stress to spend, to temporary relief, to more stress. That's not just financial, that's behavioral. And if we're being honest, most people don't talk about this part. Because it's not just about money, it's about how money makes you feel. There's pressure, there's stress, sometimes even guilt. And instead of dealing with that, it's easier to ignore it or distract from it. So the cycle continues. Not because people don't care, but because they're overwhelmed. And that's important to understand. Because getting out of debt isn't just about numbers. It's about changing how you respond to those moments. Debt doesn't just cost money. It costs opportunity. Every dollar going toward debt is a dollar that's not building anything, not investing, not growing, not working for you. And over time, that gap becomes massive. For example, $500 a month toward debt. Over 10 to 15 years, that could have turned into tens of thousands invested. But here's the deeper cost most people miss: time. The average American carries around $63,000 in total debt. That's years of income already committed. Debt is future time already spoken for, which means fewer choices later, less flexibility, less freedom. And this is where a lot of people start to realize something. It's not just that debt is expensive, it's that it keeps you from doing other things. Things like taking a risk, changing careers, starting something new. Because when you have obligations every month, you don't just think about what you want to do, you think about what you have to maintain. And that changes your decisions. Not in a big, obvious way, but in small, consistent ways over time. And those small decisions, they shape your entire financial future. The biggest cost of debt isn't interest, it's delay. Because wealth is built on time. And when debt delays your ability to invest, it delays your ability to build anything. Here's the simple truth. Someone who starts investing early has an advantage that money alone can't replace: time. But when you spend years paying off debt first, you lose that advantage. And here's what makes this important. You don't get those years back. That's why debt doesn't just slow you down, it changes your entire financial trajectory. Here's something most people don't realize until later. It's not just about how much money you lose, it's about what you could have built instead. Because while you're focused on paying something down, someone else is building something up. And over time, that gap gets wider. Not overnight, but slowly, quietly, until one day it's noticeable. And that's when people start asking, how did I fall behind? When really, they weren't falling behind. They were just delayed. Getting out of debt is important, but that's not the finish line. The real shift happens after. Because once debt is gone, you unlock something powerful: cash flow. And what you do with that cash flow determines everything. Here's a clear example. $500 a month going to debt becomes $500 a month going into investments. That's where momentum begins. That's where progress becomes visible. That's where you stop paying for the past and start building the future. And this is where things start to feel different. Because once you're no longer sending money backward, you can finally start sending it forward. And even small amounts start to feel powerful. Not because they're big, but because they're moving in the right direction. That's when you start to feel progress, not just financially, but mentally. Because now you're not reacting anymore, you're building. And that shift from reacting to building is what changes everything. Most people think debt is about discipline. It's not. It's about structure. Because when you're in a system where interest is high, payments are slow, and debt is normalized, it's easy to stay stuck. But once you understand how it works, you can start making different decisions. And that's when everything changes. If this made you think differently, that's the point. Because real financial progress doesn't come from just earning more. It comes from understanding how money actually works and making better decisions because of it. And once you see it clearly, you can start moving forward with purpose, not just effort. If you found this helpful, take a second to like the video. It helps more people see it. Drop a comment and let me know what stood out to you or where you're at in your journey. And if you're serious about building assets, breaking cycles, and creating real financial freedom, subscribe to Keith's Money Mindset. This is Keith's Money Mindset, where we build assets, break cycles, and create freedom. And I will see you in the next one. Bye for now.